All right, with it being 4:59, we'll call the meeting to order. Adam, if you wouldn't mind taking attendance, please.
Baird?
Here.
Mansman?
Here.
Nesky?
Here.
Gimple?
Here.
Ernst? Millen? We are good.
All right, we do have meetings attached, meeting minutes attached to the agenda. I'll give you a minute to take a look at those. And otherwise, I'll obtain a motion to approve those meeting minutes from August 15th.
You're perfect.
No, I read it.
I'll make motion to approve the minutes.
All right, we have a motion, second.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. All right, discussion items. Ashton, we will turn it over to you for a little bit.
Okay, well, this is Max. He is our new intern. Today was his first day. Basically, we just went around and I introduced him to as many city staff as I could and took him on a tour of all the parks and just determined his schedule. So that's the basis of today. But I don't know if Max, if you want to, I know you kind of introduced yourself to them, but
I'm a senior this year at Ripon College. I'm going into sports management, that's my major, with minors in coaching and strength and conditioning. So kind of doing the Parks and Rec department fits in perfectly with me as far as just an internship. And then I plan to be working mainly on Tuesdays from 8:30 to 10:30, and then on Thursdays from 10:30 to 3:30, I do believe. So I'll either be around in here or out in the parks, helping out wherever Ashton needs me.
Well, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Should have that. Exciting.
yeah.
I have no further questions.
I hope you enjoyed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Full class load and everything I've seen this year.
So I actually went super hard on credits my sophomore and junior year, so I only need 12 credits each semester this year, so I'm pretty light on that, but I got a lot of extracurriculars going on.
Nice. That
Yes.
sounds even better.
Exactly. All right, well, I'm sure there's no shortage of work
Yes.
or projects that Ashton has here that you'll be able to enjoy.
Will never be a busy day, or a boring day.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, good. Thanks again. After you.
Oh, Selfridge Park Stewardship Grant. I'm like getting the two confused. Did we let you guys know about the Selfridge grant that we received? Okay, we did.
I sent the notice, so we've been tentatively awarded about $419,000 in DNR stewardship funding for the Selfridge project. So that includes I think I sent you an application. I don't know if you have
Oh,
the
yes, I have it up.
I don't know if you pulled it up, but right. So the whole grant application was an $836,000 project. If you could just look down to the map to show kind of what we were thinking in terms of the overall, but that's the grant application. So
Long.
120.
Wow.
Is it after?
oh, keep going.
Oh.
Right. Keep going.
Oh gosh.
Keep going.
No.
Keep going.
There it is.
This is my favorite part of the Park and Rec department.
So as you can see here, we sort of bubbled out the areas that we want to address with the grant in an effort to essentially keep the budget in line. So you can see we're not doing like the full parking lot, and we added some sidewalk there in blue. And so we'd be looking at kind of keeping it to the bubbled area with a path, the addition of a open air shelter, kayak launch, and then ADA fishing pier, and then some shoreline restoration and overlook. Looking at then the path, obviously connecting kind of everything nicely, and potentially adding additional fishing or cantilevered areas for better access for fishing. All generally ADA accessible features. So we've been tentatively awarded the grant for that project. It would be a 2024 project that we would begin working on over the next couple months as we proceed with the 2024 budget. So ultimately, just to kind of, from this committee's perspective, if there's a recommendation to the council to eventually accept that grant, as I believe there was a recommendation to apply for the grant, that would be helpful. We'll then work on getting it built into the budget. It's a 50-50 match, so it is a significant project for us. There might be a budget up there as well, and we'll talk about possibly working through, some of the finer details on it all. But you look at benches and asphalt path, what the estimates on things were. So all of that may go up or down or anything, but 2 fishing piers, kayak launch, signage, lighting. We have lighting as part of it. So it's a pretty comprehensive project for kind of engaging the outdoor space and the pond. So as I said, we're tentatively awarded. What that means is it still has to go through joint finance at the state level, joint finance committee, because it is over $250,000. They will then have a grant agreement. So I could imagine that happening or being forwarded to the city in the next couple weeks. And I would just, like I said, ask for a recommendation to accept if you, as a committee, want to push this project forward as a priority in 2024. I will note that in our engagement with the DNR, I've said this before, I think in other meetings or whatnot, but in our region, which is up to Door County, so we're talking pretty significant competition and communities that are well equipped to handle big projects. We had the highest rated project submitted in our region, so that's why we rewarded it. We had applied in the past for this trail. And we're not given funding. So I think part of this master planning effort, part of the process we went through to get to the ability to apply, kind of shows the path to try to do this stuff and do it competitively and to try to get funding to assist. So certainly it's a lengthy application. We have to weed through some things and get it in the budget, but all our intention is to proceed as staff, and if there's a recommendation from here, that would just be helpful in terms of engaging the council, who I believe are supportive of it, but just certainly understand that you all have said, yeah, this would be awesome and good for the community as well.
It would be. I made a motion to recommend that to the council.
I'll second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Please recommend.
Yeah, I think it is an easy project. All of these as individual projects in the master plan are great. I think the whole thing's,
It's a big, substantial project for us.
Right.
By the time we're all said and done, it's going to be $1 million project in one park. We certainly engage in the community on that project. If there's somebody that wants to help or donate or engage in that project or volunteer time, we certainly will take that too. We threw together the application, got certain points. We didn't have a ton of time to, reach out to certain clubs or groups to say, would you want to sponsor or help with, the fishing pier, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I know there's fishing clubs and stuff out there, so.
Anybody out there, just reach out to Ashton or myself, and we'd be happy to talk how we could partner in it. So.
I'll poke my neighbor.
I just have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So you said it's a 50-50 match
Mm-hmm.
of $418,000. What if we can't reach that match?
The city will reach the match through our capital project fund, as well as we can use some of our, what are called TIF districts in the area to fund this project. So more or less, it just comes down to budgeting. We've committed to, at minimum, through the project, in applying, we've committed that we wouldn't apply if we couldn't make the match.
Okay.
So anything that people partner with us moving forward only helps us do more or enhance it or not have to
Right,
add
instead
something
of having
else.
one pier, we get
Okay.
2 piers or
Yep.
3 piers.
If
You know,
we have-
we can find a fishing club that wants to sponsor
Yep.
putting in another pier or something, you know, like,
And your application is obviously only as good as your estimates, and the cost of a trail maybe 80,000 instead of 60,000. So we're still a long ways from getting the project done, but more or less we've committed to at minimum that size of project, and we have to work through with the DNR to ensure that, you know, when we sign the grant agreement, we can hold up our end of the bargain.
Sure.
So you're gonna be all in at that 419 no matter what?
No
Like
matter,
if, yeah, so if,
unless it comes in under bid.
okay,
If it comes in under, then great, then, you know, we just return the portion we don't need back to DNR.
okay.
Or, you know, maybe they let us expand it somehow, but I doubt it's going to be less than that, just based on, you know, what that trail costs and, out the window here, and, you know, you don't know what a kayak launch and a fishing pier, you know, we're talking $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a pop, depending how it's designed and how big it is. They're $70,000, $80,000. You know, so, you know, it's, you know, but we did some cool stuff in there. We put in like a, I think one of the things we put in was a solar pergola shelter. So a shelter with a solar thing on top of it. So we'll explore those things. That frankly gets us more points. But, you know, if those things become too expensive, we also can maybe find funding to help with that as well, to help cover portions of that. So we tried to be a little creative in the application to get a more competitive application. But so there's a lot to do, and we'll have to likely engage MSA, the design engineer, on it eventually as well, to sign a contract to begin engineering, final engineering, spec development, and then bidding.
Great opportunity and nice to see it moving forward.
Okay, the game time playground grant discussion. So I'm meeting with a guy named Russell Williams. He's the representative for game time in our area. That's that grant that we talked about last time. That is the, let me pull it up here.
You guys jump so high.
What? Oh, the background. I was like, what are you talking about? Okay, yeah, so that's the who the grant is through is Game Time. So I'm meeting with him next week, Tuesday actually, so after our meeting, but to evaluate the site, Selfridge Park, see what structures would work best in that area, which most should, but and then determine project costs. So I talked to him on the phone today, and he has calculations where he can figure out, okay, if we want to put in $75,000 for the playground, or if we're all in at $100,000 on our end, what $75,000, that would just be playground. What would be the mulch, the rubber mulch, or whatever we decide to do, and the border and everything else, and installation. And like the playground costs here, this actually that is just that playground, not shipping or freight or whatever the word is for that. So that's just that structure, how much it is. But Adam went through, and then I went through, and just to see like what some of the options are. So on the phone with him, I thought that there was only like 10 playground structures that go towards the grant, but it's actually anything on their, or not anything on their site, but these type of structures on their site, as long as it doesn't have ropes for some reason, I'm not entirely sure why, it can be considered towards the grant. So I perused, Adam perused, and we found kind of some of our favorites that we think would work well in the area too. So I'll just bring through the playground photos right now. So what we were talking about is kind of like a earthy or not vibe to go along with the pond and the tree. Natural, yes, not earthy. But you know what I mean. And don't mind the colors. All colors can change, so don't judge it based on colors. That's what he told me today on the phone. So here's one. This one is ADA accessible, so it has a ramp that does go through it. To me, this one is one of my favorites too. I just like the overall structure of it. And then here's another. Again, going with the natural look with the trees. This one I just thought looked really fun. It's just like a long. Here's the overhead view. It just like has a lot of elements that I personally think would be a lot of fun. There's a lot of different interaction throughout it. I can show you the overhead view of the others too, so you can get kind of a view of that. Here's this one. It's longer. And like I said, these, we don't have to just choose from these four. These are just like some of Adam's picks and my picks. This one is just very fun, and it is on sale. And it's $100,000 off basically, and it's just, there's so much going on, and I thought it looked like so much fun. It's huge, and compared to or not huge compared to the others, but it's pretty drastically different. This one's 75 by 52, whereas like this one is 46 by 47. So I don't know what you guys think about it, if you have any specific preferences or what you would like to see. Basically, I'll just collect our feedback, and then I'll talk to him next week and see if like what we like best fits in with that certain like $100,000 match from the city, if it fits in with the budget.
So moving forward, is there any reason we wouldn't want to put in accessible playground equipment in every park? Right?
Yeah.
Moving forward, I mean, since we have none right now, I mean, we do have some accessible equipment now, but moving forward, especially starting with this, an accessible playground in every park would be ideal, I would think.
Yeah, and one thing I also forgot to mention is like this little chair here that you see. I'm not entirely sure, even though it's in the picture, but any freestanding things like swings, if there's any swings in the pictures, those are not included in the grant. So I don't know if that means that it's like a swivel accessible chair. I don't know if that one is included in it, but yeah, so like again, this one is one of my favorites because I like that it's also accessible, yet it's very different and fun and goes along with the nature theme. But I don't know what you guys think.
What's the top view of that?
Yeah, is this
Top
the
view.
one? This is the one that-
Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
2 slides? 3?
1, 2, 3, yeah, 4.
Oh,
When you're on the bottom,
Yeah.
on the way to time.
So they all have like an age.
Two slide, double
Right.
slide.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Top,
Sorry.
and then slide down there and bottom.
Yeah, so the age range like on this one is 5. I think most of these are actually 5 to 12. These ones at least. I think the other ones I was looking at was younger. Yeah, these ones are all 5 to 12. Yep. So, don't know if anybody has any specific opinions on.
What I'll say is too, is we've talked about this, accessible is the goal.
Yeah.
But there are things you have to consider then with the accessibility. You necessarily, like in this particular case, you have to put a path up to at very least the entrance of that ramp, right?
Right.
The rest of it, we would have to then discuss what we would be under, say the slides and whatnot, because those areas, wood chips aren't considered accessible, nor is rubber. You'd have to have a flat surface throughout. You could be looking at doubling or tripling your cost depending on the surface you put underneath it. So we just have to look at the overall layout of it and ensure that,
I mean, even just having a path to it, though, makes it more accessible than 90% of most other playgrounds. So, so.
just in general, the ramp up for everybody is more
Right.
accessible than the step.
Exactly.
It's just an easier transition,
Yeah.
and so,
Yeah, they do have like the rubber mats, or you could do concrete, but the rubber mats that could lead up to it too. If we decided to go with rubber mulch, and not saying we're going to, but if we did, then we could have the rubber pads leading up to it, so that at least, like Adam was saying, is still accessible. So it at least brings the cost down, but then still allows it to be accessible.
and we can sprinkle in smaller stuff. I don't know if you have
Yeah,
those
I do.
and stuff,
The
but
duckies.
you can sprinkle in, you know, but
Oops.
even a duck and a turtle is $1,400.
Yes.
You know,
What age group are those?
This one?
Yeah.
2 to 5.
Okay, so
You
now
bring
we
in some.
bring in
Oh.
some extra pieces
Oh,
with
nice.
some of those things, so we have a good variety of.
Yeah, we have a canoe that could go along with the pond,
Sure.
but it's more.
Definitely need a canoe if we're putting it by the kayak launches. You can't not have a canoe, you can't hold a canoe. Not let me put in a
We're going with
canoe.
the nature theme, right?
And this is just one site. There are other sites
Yeah.
that offer different
Yes.
different things that are maybe cheaper or whatever. So I mean, the basis is
Right, I guess we could get these others outside
Yeah.
items from different places as well, maybe not necessarily have to come from the
But
same.
yeah, that makes sense.
But now we need to
Yes.
I know.
use the motion if I have to.
But I think if you're looking at making software, if you're looking at accessibility, it makes sense to look at.
With the
Yeah.
view there.
I mean, just let's follow them.
If we're putting in the
Yeah.
ADA pier and the ADA kayak
Right,
launch,
let's
then
make
we
sure
might
our
as well make
equipment
sure that
gets there.
Yeah.
that playground is the ADA playground,
Yeah.
then I think. And
There
then-
are-
And then maybe the other playgrounds, we can have a mix.
That's pieces.
Yeah, there are more options for ADA. I won't flip through the whole thing, it'll take me forever. But yeah, there are more ADA options. This was just one of my favorite ones, but that's just me personally.
Make it the
Not everybody
ADA
else.
center of town, everybody can hang
Yeah, so basically, that's good to know. And then I'll just meet with him next Tuesday to just go over the costs and everything else that's associated with it, so. Then we can know for sure, and that will determine which play structure we can get based on the price and stuff like that too, so.
out. Right. I think knowing that we have an ADA focus on it,
Mhm.
starting point.
Mhm. Awesome.
Any other questions for Ashley? Or Adam? Day one, you can answer the question.
Absorbing.
Discussion on the fitness campaign?
Yes, so Adam and I had a discussion with David, that's the representative we talked to through the National Fitness Campaign, just about how this year the project isn't possible with funding and whatnot for the fitness court. And then again with the possibility of this project next year, or the tentative project, that kind of not overrides it all, but that it's a pretty significant project in the park. And then also so it would be fabulous to have a fitness court, but then at the same time, are you gonna add in a brand new amenity while next to our cracked basketball, tennis courts, and playgrounds that are struggling over here? So that was another piece of the discussion. So basically, we're just trying to figure out, so this would be pushed back a year, 2 years, whatever it is, or do we just hold off right now on the fitness court project and then proceed from there on other projects? So basically what David sent me was the grant committee has to authorize a release of another application, so we would have to reapply basically if we decided to do this later on from a year or 2 years from now. And we just we would like to know your opinion on the fact on the fitness court, and yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to it. yeah, just what you're.
Yeah, I think we have tried to get some funding, tried to line up opportunities for additional grant funding. We applied for this stewardship grant. That is taking the absolute priority, like moving
Yeah.
forward.
It
So
makes sense to just put our efforts
It's
in.
not just a process.
Put our, leave our eggs in one basket, try not
Right.
spread
Yeah.
out too much.
The fact that we're aware of it is good for us though, right? We know what we need to get ready for and, you know,
Right.
what comes down the line for us. So,
If we have to reapply to get a fitness court, then we might have to reapply.
It's not a tedious process or anything like that either.
I'm
It's-
assuming there will be many more grants we will have.
It gives us an opportunity to maybe secure some donors or maybe some folks as well that maybe want to
Mhm.
be engaged as the term goes.
Yes.
With it, so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it seems to make sense to do it as part of maybe a larger project of redoing the courts and the shelter and stuff up there too as well, so.
So we're thinking probably a couple years. At least.
At least not next year.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Instead of
probably
being
2-3 years out
Right.
for us to realistically.
Get donors and that fix up what we have already.
Yeah, there's a pretty, it's a pretty large sum that we have to come up with to just do the fitness court.
Yes.
So I mean, you know, our match is north of $100-some thousand, right? So, you know, we need that right now for Selfridge.
Yeah.
So that kind of takes priority.
Makes sense.
Okay. Okay, the tree and bench,
Can we have like a motion?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
To
Yes.
like,
uh,
to,
I make a motion to pause the
okay,
fitness court for 3 years? Or do you want no years in there?
I,
I don't know if you need to set a timeline.
you don't need to
Yeah,
set a time.
yeah.
So, for the future.
yes,
Right.
perfect.
So you have a motion from Nancy, do you have a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Aye.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, so the bench and tree donation program. So I essentially so prior you could donate a bench or a tree, but there really was no structure to it. It was essentially, you just had to go pick your own bench and it may or may not have matched all the other benches that are in the parks. So we basically just formalized it and made a form off of it. So here, this is just the donation form, and for each, there's a proposed location, preferred parks. For the proposed locations, they can pick where they would like for it to be, but that doesn't mean that may not be in that exact location. Like if there's something buried there, if there's something else when it comes to digging a tree. It might have to be slightly moved, but we'll try to keep their interest, or their best interest in where they would like the tree, bench, whatever. So for the bench, we determined about $1,500. That includes shipping, the bench, engraving, and installation. So, and then the tree is $200, and that includes the tree and installation as well. I put here some options of trees or examples, and then they also, if they have a specific tree and or they want us to choose, they can. Those tree choices were based off of the company that we ordered the trees from. I just contacted him and said, what do you suggest are the best trees for the parks? And he had a gigantic list. I just slimmed it down a bit, just for the best choices that he gave, and then again, they can pick if they want something different, because there are a ton of options of trees. And here's just the brief donation program flyer, essentially, that I came up with. So basically just goes through all the information. They're all 6-foot cedar colored, the 100% recycled plastic right out there. It's basically what that is out the window. And I've ordered this like through this specific vendor before, and the benches are super nice. And that's why I went with that specific one. And I really like them. So, and the trees and the bench, they'll only be ordered a specific time of year. So for the trees, so it's not like there's just trees constantly coming in, not saying there would be. So DPW is not constantly just having to go and dig holes, and so it's a fall and a spring planting. So so the trees have a better survival, and then also just so it's not a burden on DPW to have to do it often. And then for the benches, it would also be a specific time of year. I think it's right there. I have it, we would bulk order them 3 times a year, because if you order one bench at a time, you're paying the shipping for every single time, but if you bulk order them, then it's that single shipping cost, which just makes more sense to order them in bulk. So it's like a January, April, and July date, because it does take 9 weeks to order them. So if they were ordered in September, they wouldn't be coming in until 9 weeks later. And then you enter winter, and we're not, sorry, math. So we're not installing benches in the winter. So that's why I based it off of that. If you guys have any like specific things that you see that you want me to add to it or change, or I know Jason, you brought up something earlier, and I would like.
Yeah, so my question was like, how old are the trees that we're getting?
Oh, that's
Are
what
they
you
like
asked.
mature? Are they 2 to 3 years? They're just not little saplings that might get run over or pulled out of the ground or things like that. But I guess Adam, you mentioned they're similar to the ones that are kind of planted out in front of the activity center here in terms of maturity. So I think that's good to know. Yeah. Because if somebody donates $200 and then within a week it's ripped out of the ground, right?
Yeah.
Or something. So, and I guess the same goes. I had a question about vandalism that may occur on the bench donation. Whose responsibility is that? Does that fall back on the city? Not saying that they would ever get vandalized, but sometimes things do happen like that, I'm assuming. And maybe you have that in the...
I totally thought I did, and that's why I went to it, and I don't. So maybe that is something I can add in there. It would be, if it got vandalized, it would be, we would take care of it, if I understand correctly. It wouldn't be they would have to come and take care of their own bench that they donated to.
Technically, with our stellar police department, the vandal
Oh,
will
yes.
take care of it.
In a perfect world, that would be great.
But essentially, what I think part of this is it formalizes that, it's a donation, it recognizes someone as a payment, but it ultimately comes down to the city. We will own it.
Right, it's not like an adopt document.
No.
You don't have to go clean your bench and...
So the other question is like, is there a lifespan on these benches, or is there, right? I don't know, and I don't know how long we've had some of the ones that are similar, and
They're certainly better than, I think, some of the just standard wood or, even metal. They do last, decades from what.
They're built to be
Not that we
outside.
could ever really end up with too many benches, but we end up with too many benches.
good
It
problem.
We make a new park.
Bench park.
Bench park, right?
Yeah, I think, if at some point in time it gets aged to a point where it's past its useful life, I think we do try to notify the donor party to try to return the bench to them. That's always nice to do, but sometimes these things, if it's 20, 30 years down the road, there's no one there, right?
Or there's no one there.
There's no one there to
It's
find,
literally falling apart.
so.
Yeah, I put here, if a memorial must be relocated, department staff will notify the donor in writing at the address shown on this form. So that's just scooching it, but if we have whatever, for whatever reason, have to take it out of the park, then,
Yeah, and much like what Jason said, though, I thought, but if we get an influx of people who want to put a bench in Murray Park, like, where do we cap? And who makes that decision, right? Is that something that comes through Park and Rec? Is that something that comes through the council? Like, if we get 15 people who want to put a bench in Murray Park, we might be
Obviously, we would just probably put them in
somewhere else. I'm assuming. That would be our discretion,
Yeah.
We move them through other parks
Right.
respectfully, you know, we have a need for,
choices.
we have a need for benches up here now with the trail, we have other areas that you can go. But yeah, I don't know if we'll get to that point, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's up to the city to determine where the most appropriate location is, and we'll do everything we can to honor the request of the donating party, but certainly, yeah, you don't need, you need 5 benches here, 5 benches there, 5 benches there, not 15.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this will be available on the website?
Yes.
So basically, I'll just add the age, add that we'll take care of the maintenance. Those are the 2 things that I can add to it.
And then like the trees, the company, if they die within a year, they'll replace it, so.
Are the trees get a little staked with a black line or anything, or they just go as trees?
We talked about that briefly, but never really
Like
determined.
maybe an upcharge, $50 to make a plaque or something?
I think we would have to upcharge
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Yeah,
We would have to direct that too and see how they get planted. We certainly don't want things sticking out of the ground if we have to mow around them or, you know,
Right.
work around them. So we have to come up with something there. But a simple little, I think there's one up in Barlow that was done recently that has a little stone,
Okay.
you know, that the family donated. The family can also take care of that if they want to independently. You know, maybe we leave that in their court, you know, and just say we will allow you to do that unless, you know, we find a way to standardize it.
Right.
'Cause
If
those
you'd like a
things,
memorial sign, just contact us and we'll
those
correct
things
it.
can be
Right?
mowed over.
Question, motion to approve this?
yes,
or?
please.
No? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the bench and tree donation program.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All we're doing is checking things out from the tax.
Okay. So the Murray Park Trail, I guess this now could have just gone under projects.
Oh, it's fine.
But it's okay. So obviously the paving was completed on Friday. It just has to be backfilled now. So the sides of the trail where there's still gravel, that just has to be done. And I think after that, the trail will be complete, right? There's no other steps after that, after the backfill?
Just seeding and restoration, miscellaneous stuff, and then
Yeah.
we'll look at some transitions out in there, and we'll probably have a few other things we have to do over the next, you know, year or so to make sure that parking doesn't occur on it, and just minor improvements, benches, things of that nature we can place in it. I think Max might be having to measure a mile, so we'll put like half mile, you know, start here, half mile.
Yeah, I was curious about, there going to be some markings on it.
Yeah.
Would that be on the blacktop, or would that be like a sign? or-
Sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The scouts on a Blue Mile hike out the trail,
Yeah.
and the 3 mile sign was missing,
Yeah.
so.
He went to
So we went 3.5. Well, I'm like, oh, all right, here we go, guys. Turn around.
Is there anything else going to be done, going down there, and then you've got the blacktop then going behind the school, the trail, is anything going to be done to make that easier to walk, bike on?
Isn't that,
Because it's still the big,
gravel, yeah, I
Yeah.
think we're gonna let it settle out again, and we may have to put down some screenings or something eventually. I think the idea was to try to pave it eventually, so.
or just like the Northwestern, where it's a
Yeah.
little easier to walk on, where that's a
Yeah,
little
well, I think we'll
Trial
talk,
style gravel.
yeah,
It's a little hard to walk. but-
yeah, we'll get that addressed in the next year. That it's a work in progress out there. I think it's just general gravel that we had.
Great.
I think the intention was to pave it, but there's already enough we did.
Yeah.
So,
you got this much paved,
Yeah,
arm span.
it's big.
Great,
Yeah.
yeah. It's really nice.
But what he was talking about, so Alan brought it up to our attention, which I didn't think about when they were paving it. So tomorrow we're meeting with MSA actually down here, but from the parking lot to where the trail starts, it doesn't like connect there. So that's what he was talking about, that we'll discuss to see what we can do. Yeah.
Tough railroad time in a minute.
Yeah, I think we'll grab over the time being. The idea is obviously we want to do the parking lot eventually, so maybe we do it then, but that's another
Come on.
couple $100,000.
That's a pipe dream. You gonna pave a parking lot for $100,000 in a park or do something in a park? Come on. I'm not naive.
Well, most few baseball tournaments, they play for
Right. Well, it's great to see that done, and I know everybody's driven through it, and it's great.
Yeah.
I saw people out there
Bringing
on
enough
it right
people.
away.
Yeah.
Right there.
Charge them all a buck
over
apiece,
it.
Yeah.
pay the parking lot.
So, and just to take a step back too about like winter maintenance of it, we understand that it's new, people may want to use it in the winter. We've talked to Alan, talked to Ashton about this. It will be on the priority list of snow removal at the bottom, okay? So we will do what we can when weather allows to clear snow. We'll get around to it if we are able to, but it won't be something that's regularly done, or if we're gonna have a foot of snow, we're not necessarily gonna clean a foot of snow off of that. So just to be clear with the public, if people ask.
Adam told me I
Fresh
was,
blacktop will melt off real easy, actually. So.
Adam told me I was gonna go out and have to shovel it.
Herself. She's gonna get her workout in. Good job, Matt.
Yeah.
He's like, my semester's done in December.
It doesn't snow on Monday night.
No, it's really good to see that project done and
Yeah.
taken care of. So,
Really
good.
cool.
Good
When I
thing.
skateboard down there.
Perfect.
You can fly.
Okay, programming update. So, most of you are on Facebook and see everything I post, but all the sport fundamentals are now complete. I sent a survey out to all the parents, and so far the feedback is super helpful. Most of it I agree with, like for the soccer session should be shorter, which right when it started, that's immediately what I thought. So it was an hour, and to have it like half an hour to 45 minutes for 3 and 4-year-olds would be better. So things like that are helpful, and it was good, positive criticism, I guess. Or I guess not criticism, feedback, bad words, or bad use of words. And at the beginning, they were asked to rate their overall experience, essentially, and so far, based on the responses, it's 4.5 out of 5. So people were really happy with it and just thankful that there was programming that went on. So
So was
that
there a
was-
setback in like the volleyball?
yes. So yeah. So the reason, so at first it was happening, and then the volleyball court project got bid out and then approved, and then so I couldn't have it because I didn't have anywhere to play volleyball. And then by the time that it was all done and completed, time-wise with all the other sports going on, and then with the league starting on Wednesdays, there wasn't a date and or time that worked for when everybody was in school to play at the park based on sunset too. So there's so many factors that went into it. So I would love to be able to, I really want to work with the college to do a volleyball camp with them. That's what I did last year with UW Whitewater. My old coach and some of the athletes came in and just taught middle schoolers and just a couple hour program. So I want to do that, but the next step is finding a place to do it, due to the fact that obviously the city doesn't have a gym, so then I have to ask the schools and everything and talk again with the college.
So do families pay to be a part of that? Do we have that as a credit or is that free?
So it was just reimbursed.
Okay.
It was just reimbursed back to them.
Okay.
And I basically explained, just keep an eye out for volleyball programming coming up. So yeah, that was my fault on not realizing that I need a volleyball court that currently is getting dug. So, yeah, my bad. We had our first the freezer meal class last night, and it was a lot of fun. I was here for it. The instructor had a lot of fun. We almost had a full class. It was very close to full. There was a lot of positive comments, and then some of the people who attended last night, there's the second freezer meal class is actually, there's a waiting list, and then the third one, there's I think 4 openings left, and the people from yesterday's then signed up for the last class. So it went over well, and yeah, it must have been positive if they then signed up for the next one. So
Yeah.
that was
My
very
wife
cool.
was here, had one freezer. It was very, it all looks very yummy.
That was good. Oh, I did not know that. Cool. I should have said something then. Okay, yeah, so we have 2 weeks left of the volleyball league. It's going well. Adam's team is great. They have a lot of fun. Their name is Ashton's Rejects. That's what they call themselves. Adam made up the name. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. One of the comments, I will keep saying it, is that one of the first nights that we played, the other team, not just talking to me, but they're like, this is, one of the people were like, this is the nicest sand volleyball court I've ever played on. So hearing comments like that, and people were like, wow, there's padding, wow, the new poles, like they just kept going and talking about it, and they weren't directly talking to me. So it was cool to hear that, and after the court was completed. I'm currently working or coordinating with SSM Health to do not specifically a couch to 5K program, but something similar, where they would come in maybe 3 times during the program. Okay, hold up. A couch to 5K program is essentially like a 6-week program on a specific plan. If you're new to running, walking, a 5K. It's just to build up into being able to run one. And in that 6-week period, there would be like a presentation on nutrition, a presentation on stretching, and whatever else. I still have to coordinate that with them, but I'm working with that. And then I'm hoping that will then lead into, and I'm working on doing Mandy Kimes is all for a 5K on the Saturday morning of Dickens. So then there are people around in the area.
Frozen 5K?
Oh yes, yes. I ran a Jingle Jog 5K last year, and it went over really well, even though it was in the winter.
Oh, I
Yes.
They've
Just
had
know if we
it
do
Yes.
a freeze tag event at the
Yeah.
end of January.
Yes.
One year it was -60.
Yes. People will do it if they get a T-shirt or something swag. They're all for it, and if they pay for it, then they're more likely to come. But yeah, so I'm working on that. Our Falling Into Fun with the Rec Department program is coming up on the 26th. So in about 7 days. So that'll be fun. The police are doing their national night out, and I don't have it determined yet because I just talked to Lindsay yesterday about what they're doing, but I'm bringing something from the rec department to partner along with them. And then the library is having a lantern walk, and this is in November, but and they asked me to do an activity, and it's based on the theme is like be the light. So we're doing sunshine cookie decorating, sugar cookies. So I'm doing that along with them, and more to come with now Max here. Then we can collaborate and add even more programming to the plate. And yeah, it's just exciting to see what more we can add. Yeah, so that's about it for the programming update.
That's it. Okay.
Sorry, I always say that's it. I just keep talking.
Any other questions for Ashton on the program?
Is there any feedback or information you want to look at for winter?
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask that. I'm sorry. Is there any programming you guys would like to see,
Anything with cross-country?
like skiing?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I go out in the northwest, and hopefully if it doesn't get walked down too much, I kind of try to cut trails out going
Yeah.
that way, but it'd be nice if there was.
Yeah.
Do something.
Yeah, I mean,
Is soccer field, mowing the
Yeah.
lawn, you know.
To make a path, and we've done that, we've made our own paths.
Mhm.
But, yeah.
Murray Park doesn't see a lot of disc golf traffic in the winter once there's a lot of snow. It's not a,
Yeah, they did the fat tire bike ride in the winter in the Murray Park.
yeah, so probably establish some sort
It's,
of trail through here.
I know that the library was talking about collaboration, that they said they have 8 pairs of snowshoes
Yes.
available. So that we could possibly get something coordinated as far as like a walk around. If we aren't able to do so clear, we could possibly coordinate something like that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, the library was all for collaborating today. We had a discussion with Max and I and them, and yeah.
And we've been talking a lot about Dickens, so.
Yes.
So, there's been an idea floating around about how the city could be involved in that program. And Ash and I have been talking about like a community Christmas tree and lighting. So think of that. Because giant Christmas trees are not cheap, but,
Where,
what's that?
where would we put it,
It would go downtown,
like the green or? the
or we
square?
have somewhere like that.
Mhm.
Like it would be a part of the Dickens or Christmas in the Village, an official lighting of
The tree.
the tree.
Cool, yeah.
Just think of that. Because we've been,
It's coming up.
and we don't know how to
What's it
proceed with
cost?
that. Well, I mean, we've talked and, you know, a tree that's about 2.5 Ashtons.
Yes.
Is,
That's what we sized it.
I mean, you're looking at north of, you could be anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000+, but, you know.
And then there's trying to figure out how to decorate a tree that tall.
Well, all they are is, now
They're not real trees.
They're not real.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not a real tree.
Yeah.
They have a base and then it's like a panel, so then they just light up. Some of them you can program to music and
Okay.
LED and do a light show.
Right.
So there's a varying, level of this. I just brought it forward and talked to Ash.
I was
about-
thinking Rockefeller Center, but.
Oh, totally. We could. Well, you can hire someone to come and put up a tree. It's just as much as buying your own.
Right.
So,
Can't we
So-
just decorate one that's already growing?
it's.
But now what I'm downtown.
We're trying. We've talked a lot about how we can support some of
Not a
the
Christmas tree looking.
the things that we're doing really well in the community, and Dickens and the Christmas theme is something that's going really, really well. So,
So I mean, is this something that we could just buy and then it's something that we could do year to year?
Every
like
year.
a thing?
every year, make it a thing with the parade.
Yeah,
and
do we need
whatever.
a motion to buy a tree?
No, well.
We need some funds.
That sounds fun, yeah, let's make that.
I don't, we're bringing this up, I'm bringing it up because I forgot to put it under but in terms of programming, we've talked about how we can, even running in conjunction with Dickens, a community Christmas tree lighting, or a community Christmas decorating contest for houses, where you register and you can win a prize or two. We can take that on for the chamber to support it and just elevate the things we're doing for that time of year in town. So those are the things we've been talking about internally, and I wanted to bring the dialogue out to you all, because eventually, yes, there may be things that we have to explore or bring forward with a cost, and Christmas trees, decorations, things like that are really, a lot of communities have them. They come at a cost, so we just want to talk about it before we continue on with our efforts of, trying to identify a tree or identify something to do. Obviously, yes, we could bring in a live tree and have it decorated, but that's going to cost likely thousands of dollars as well. So having a tree that, an 18 or 25 foot tree that gets put up every year and in a location and then gets lit and you know, it's centrally located. It's kind of the idea, but we have no idea if that's something the community even wants to spend money on.
Thinking about the house decor, I was just thinking, because previous year, I think people had a form they put out there where if you wanted people to drive by your house, and then when you wanted to go out, you could look at that and try to, you know, have a map or something easy for people to drive around town and promote that.
Yeah, so I ran one last year. It's called Deck the House, and basically people signed up on the form, just like you're saying, and then you created a Google map
That would be
that had
nice.
each, like the ornament indicated where
Yes.
the lit house
Yeah.
was. So then you just followed the Google map and along. So yeah,
That's amazing.
very similar.
So you can just make a trip and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we'll probably do that in conjunction with Dickens and then announce a winner as part of that as well, because I think they do gingerbread houses, we can do something.
Mhm.
So, just trying to do cool things.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds cool.
More activity, the better, right? So.
Just think of the tree, everybody.
All right, do you have any further director report?
I just have one little thing. I know last time we talked about soccer field reservations. I just whipped together a form based off the softball and baseball diamond reservations and just based it off that. So for a day, if someone wants to use the soccer field, it's $125, and then there's a $50 field prep fee. And that just includes the paint and the time for me to go spray it. So yeah, no, the Princeton school's taken advantage of it, and they've used. They're going to be using. They used it once, and then they're going to use it 2 more times. And the guy's been pleased every single time. And he comes on Sundays and drives by and emails me and how great it looks. So they're happy. Yeah, so that's about it for the director's report.
Any project updates?
Yeah, the electrical panel work at Barlow Park is starting tomorrow. So 7 panels down there will all get new receptacles. There's a lot of switches missing, so it's just blank and you can stick your hand in it, very safe. New outlet covers, which just a ton of them are broken, and some of them will be straightened out. One of them will be straightened out, and the other one will just be put together well compared to what it is right now. So it's just, a lot of them were unsafe. It went from us thinking that just one was unsafe to a lot of them. So we went around and it was like, oh, like you open each one and it was a new thing. Duct tape, electrical tape, random things drilled in, yeah. So it's getting done tomorrow. And then, I'm just getting quotes on the Barlow Park basketball court. I'm getting it resurfaced, so that would include 4 pickleball courts and 2 basketball courts. So I've had 3 contractors come out and quote me on it, and I'm waiting on 2 of the quotes still. But yeah, so that, don't know when that project would happen, but pickleball is very big, and we don't have pickleball courts. So we'd like to get them in. We think it's a high priority, so.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and that, even though Selfridge is our focus for next year, that still gets something done at Barlow and kind of puts the center point for us to work out from when we get to Barlow. That, you know.
Is pickleball court, is that a 2024 budget possibility, or is that 20? Because that's a couple $100,000, isn't it, on a resurface on that, I would think?
Yeah, it depends on what we do with it,
Okay.
because there's a few different options of what kind of resurfacing they could skim off layer and then pour whatever the material is, then paint it, or they could crack fill and then pour the material. And there was another option, or just excavate the whole thing, which I don't think we would go that route. But because most of the people who have come out, they've said the cracks that are there are normal, and it's not the worst they've seen, is what the last guy said. So it's doable, and yeah.
I think we'll just try to get some pricing together. We'll
Yeah.
move forward and discuss it. In terms of overall priority for 2024, it's going to be tough to absorb that.
Yeah.
With some of the other things we've got going on, but we just we wanted to know what it would cost and what our options are, and that's what Ashley's been working on, because they got a lot of different options out there now, you know, that you don't have to just redo the whole thing from.
Right.
So we had somebody in town, so we can at least get an idea what it would cost and look like.
That's it.
Did we get the lines painted up?
Oh, yes, Max and I we were actually going to do that today, but then we talked to everybody and took too long to talk to everybody. So Thursday when Max comes back, we're going to go out there and line it, and then DPW will come up with their paint.
Cool.
And say I have a laser tape measure, so we, you know, it'll just be easier to,
Look at that.
Yes,
We're set.
as far as measuring out like how long lines.
Uh-huh.
Did you put that on your letter?
Yeah.
Put that on the resume. Come with laser tape measures. Good to go.
Use it purely as a
Are you looking at any indoor pickleball league?
Yes, so still trying to figure it out. So I know I said that I contacted the Wilmore Center, and Maddie didn't want to add any more pickleball to what's already going on there. I talked with the new AD at the high school, and he's more concerned, or not concerned, but focused on like the students getting to use the courts right now. So that was out of the picture for now. I was suggested there's a Catholic church that has a gym, but there's only one court, and
Montgomery Park School, their gym is used.
Yes, yeah, I'll reach out to them because Vince,
Yep.
yes, that was just for the high school and the middle school gym. So maybe, I'll reach out
I know
to,
basketball used to practice over there
Yeah.
after school, but maybe in the evening, I didn't know if there was a way to set up courts or something. maybe
Yeah.
for the community.
yeah, and I guess not the downfall of it, but I guess it is kind of the downfall, is that you have to lay down the court every single time you have pickleball. So you're taping down the lines, but if you have multiple people, it really doesn't take that long. If I'm by myself, it does, but if you have a group doing it, it doesn't take too long. But, so yeah, still skipping through a bunch of different facilities and figuring out where we could have it. We just build a big building right here. Gyms.
If you would like, I could try and talk
Throw
to
a
Matt.
bullshit,
I know
just
we
throw a
really don't
bullshit
have
up over
anything
the
going on.
courts here.
Uh-huh.
So I could try and talk to be like, is there any availability? Because she's my boss for my other jobs.
Yeah,
I kind of talk to her regularly.
yeah.
So I could see if it's available
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that, but I'll just be updated.
For sure. Any other project updates? Just a few things to bring up. Obviously, this is the first meeting we've had since Howard has passed. I know we've talked a few times about some possibilities of some things. We've already had some insight from the community and family members about some naming things. I met with them on Sunday a little bit to talk about those kind of things, and what I advised them is we do not need to rush into this right away, right? Let's make sure we have everything all finalized. We want to make sure that we're properly doing what the city wants us to do when we do those kind of things. So it could be a little bit of a process on that, but we do have at least some information now, like the bench and tree donation program, that we can, get out to not only his family, but other families that may be interested too. So just realize, this is probably a little bit slower process than maybe some people would like, but we want to do it correctly, and we want to do what, maybe their intentions are as well. So no doubt, super appreciated all the years that he gave here and all the work that he did here, and I feel that, not only this committee, but the council, feels there probably needs to be some recognition somewhere too. So, we'll continue discussion on that as we move forward, I think, so. And feel free to reach out to Ashton anytime on that.
And there is a guideline for that.
Yeah.
There's a process that we've established.
I just had a question, will we have a council member coming into the committee?
Yeah, I believe the mayor, so if anybody is interested or knows somebody in the District 3, I believe it is, we are seeking applications. The mayor is not going to make an appointment until that person has been selected, so this committee will continue to operate as it is without a council member until that is done. That is what the mayor has indicated to me.
Is there any further engagement that we have to provide then towards the council outside of what we're currently doing?
Nope, you guys are doing wonderful. Thank you.
Great.
You're meeting and making motions and guiding directions, so thank you. That's more than.
Much like today's meeting, I think, it's kind of when Ashton maybe has some ability to get together for our next meeting. I know you've had a lot here in the last few months, so just kind of maybe keep us up to date on your last time. And say if we need, I guess, more formal times, then, we can look at those, but I think it's worked out the way it's been the last few times, so, no concerns with it, so. So we'll stand by, I guess, for the next meeting on that, so. Any other discussion or items that need to be brought up? Otherwise, I'll turn a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. No discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you guys for letting me attend the meeting tonight. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to working with you guys.
Thanks for coming.